Hello, friends. Good morning and good evening, everyone. Your ALP here. So, this is a continuation to part one of web interview with Miss Aishi. She is an electrical engineer. So, if you didn't watch the part one of the video, then you can watch the video. The link is available in the description. So, this part is about lightning and earthing solutions. So, this video is very informative. And don't miss the video, watch the video till the end so that you will get better understanding on it. And if you have any questions or comments or anything, then you can comment in the comment section. So the other details, the guest details also available in the description. You can contact her if you have any questions or queries or anything. Yeah. So keep watch this video, guys. Nice, very nice, Aishi. So this is about your part. I mean, what you are doing and who you are. So now we will jump to the topic. Can you share the presentation or I have to share?
You can share.
Yeah. No issue. I will share the presentation. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just a second. Yeah. So I think are you able to see now?
Yes.
Okay. I will go to the presentation mode. Yeah. Yeah, I think you are able to see, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, Aishi. So you start discussing the things, and whenever we have any doubts, whenever I feel any discussion required, we can discuss for a while and we can proceed further. Yeah, dear, it's your turn and we'll proceed again.
Do you give me the control for the screen, or you will change
yeah,
this?
I can change it. No issue.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, proceed, dear.
Okay. So basically, JMV is the organization with which I am involved.
Okay.
And just a minute.
Yes. Yes, proceed. Yeah.
Okay, now it is. So basically, first of all, we'll discuss the need for an electrical safety.
Yeah.
As we all know, for the electrical safety, the major lines is earthing and lightning protection system. For any application, whether it is metros, whether it is airports, it is high-rise buildings, it is tunnels, bridges, flyovers, everything is open to the environment, so everything is prone to lightning strikes because lightning can hit anywhere. It does not give any signal or something that I'm going to hit on the this very point. So we need to protect each and every application which we are building, so from the lightning strikes. Similarly, earthing plays a very important role when we are installing any electrical or electronic equipment. Because earthing plays a primary line of protection. Basically, it ensures the safety for human life also, who are present there with the heavy electricals, which can create the fault current up to 50 kiloamperes or 65 kiloamperes. So they ensures the safety for human life, for buildings, for equipments also, because nowadays, as the technology is getting advanced, we are getting more sensitive electronics, which are very costly also. So we need to protect them too, so that we do it will be a cost effective also, and it will protect our equipment. So I think protects our equipments also from getting any unwanted fault current in them or from damages. So this is the thing. Besides this, lightning strikes are hazardous to structures and to the equipments also. If lightning strikes on a building, it not only destroys the structure, but it also harm the people living there or present at that time. So with lightning protection system, we can avoid the injury to living beings. We can avoid the damages that can happen to these structures. Also, we can protect our electrical and electronics, due to which some public services can hamper. Like if lightning strikes on hospitals, so the public services will hamper. The hospital is an important application for us. So for that, an electrical safety plays a very important role in day-to-day life for a common people also, and for those also who are building these applications, who are working for these applications.
Okay. Yeah, Aishi, is there any such cases, for example, any high-rise buildings or hospitals, they were, I mean, any huge loss happened, maybe human loss or any damage due to this lightning and all? Have you any experience on that in these years?
Latest case which I have remember is that the lightning strike has happened at a garden, at a park, and there was a tree. 4 people were standing there below the tree, under the tree, and the lightning hits on that tree only. And within 2 to 3 minutes, those 2 to 3 boys, because they were not of much age, they are like 15 to 16 years of age only. So those boys were dead within 2 to 3 minutes only. So it can be that much of dangerous, because lightning strike is having much higher current of up to 100 kiloamperes to 200 kiloamperes. So it can drastically damage anything. Yes. So this was the latest case which I am remembered right now. Also, we last in I guess 1.5 months before, lightning has hit in Rajasthan also at a tourist place. So yeah, and many people got injured too for in that case. So yeah, so likely, yeah.
If people are there on outdoor areas like these, under tree or any playground or any, in those cases, there is no other way, right? No other way to protect, right?
Basically, if I'll suggest, if the people are in an open field like a playground or a garden, so they should not take a shed from any tree or something. What they can do, they can sit at a corner, or they can sit in the field. They can sit only. Neither they can stand, because the highest point lightning gets, it will hit there. So that's why. Also, if there is a thunderstorm in the environment, you are feeling it, so better you do not use your mobile phones. Do not take selfies or something if you are at a tourist place also. Avoid those things, because mobile phones are a bunch of signals. So it can attract lightning strike. That case which happened in Rajasthan at a tourist place, also people who got injured were taking selfies at the tower. So that's why the lightning hits there, meaning that can be a point that maybe that's why lightning has hit there. But it is a precaution that many people can take. Also, try to be indoors only when you are feeling that the atmosphere is not that much better or good, and the thunderstorm can happen. And you are in the area where lightning strikes, the number of annual lightning strikes are more. So you must be better keep yourself indoors, so that you will be safe from the lightning strikes.
And so what about any stadiums? I mean, a sports cricket stadium or any outdoor stadiums are there? Generally, all the sides, I mean, we will have sitting places, and center players will be there. So in those cases, I mean, we have to stop the playing, or I mean, are any other ways of capturing that lightning and grounding it somehow? Is there any such things? Are there? You have any experience?
Basically, most of the times when these playgrounds were made, and at that time only they take it into consideration. The lighting protection system, the architects and the civil engineer takes into consideration, and we do design the lighting protection system for open playgrounds as well. But still, whenever there is lightning strikes, you have seen also during raining or something, they stop playing. So it is a precautionary thing we can do. Otherwise, they are already protected with the lightning strikes nowadays, because there is so much awareness at today's situation from our Indian codes also, from our government also. Now the disaster management authorities are also thinking that they should consider lightning strikes as a natural disaster, because 2 to 3 years back, in the natural disasters list, lightning strikes were not there. So authorities were working on it that they should consider the lightning strikes as a natural calamity, so that the awareness will be there between people and they can protect themselves.
Okay. I think insurance and all also may be applicable, right? Like a natural disaster.
Yeah, we can.
Because I just got
think
doubt
about
on it.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, we can think about it, but until and unless it will come into natural calamity, it will not get that thing. So it is very important that disaster management adds it to natural calamity.
Okay. Yeah. Please proceed, dear.
Yeah. So basically, first of all, we'll discuss about the earthing system.
Okay.
Traditionally, what happens, there was not so much awareness about the earthing system, but what people think that any metallic conductor we can bury into the ground and we can connect it to the equipment, and it will carry our fault current, it will protect my equipment. But obviously it will work because it is a metallic conductor, so it will carry the fault current into the ground, but not always it can be helpful. Maybe for good resistivities, good soil resistivities, like if I am having the mother soil resistivity at any location of 10 to 20 ohm meters, so maybe it is possible that I am burning any metallic conductor, whether it is of GI or cast iron, it can work. But for the areas with higher soil resistivities, like more than 50 ohm meters, 100 ohm meters, it is very difficult to achieve. Also, it is very difficult to maintain the earthing pit for a longer life, because earthing is the only thing which is carrying the fault current, any fault situation, into the ground, because
that's true.
It is very important that it will remain there for a longer run. So we should use the conductor material also as per that only, as per the soil resistivity, as per the fault current. Also, there was a misconception traditionally that we'll use 2 earthing pits only and our earthing is done. We do not require 4 pits, 5 pits, or 10 pits. But it is not so. The number of earthing pits depends upon the soil resistivity of that location, that how much resistivity is there, and as per that it will we calculate the number of earthings, that in so and so number and 10 number of earthing pits we will be able to achieve less than 1 ohm, because earthing is having a criteria that the resistance should be as low as possible. So every standard is saying that the resistance should be as low as possible. So keeping in mind the low figure, so generally people design it for less than 1 ohms. It will be the lowest value. So for less than 1 ohms, the thing will be designed. So there are many challenges which I have faced in my 4 years career, which we generally face during the earthing designing. That is the first one is the higher soil resistivities. Nowadays, resistivity is varying drastically as soil varies in nature from location to location. Also, soil is having multi-layers. It can be horizontally multi-layered or
vertically multi-layer.
Yeah. So initially there was lack of awareness of the soil nature also, and there was not so much tools available in the market through which we can study the soil nature. So it becomes very difficult for us to do the calculations using the Excel sheets without any data of soil nature and soil resistivity. Second thing is the availability of space. Traditionally, what happens that there was no so much development, so we were having the area at that time, we can do the installations, but nowadays development was so much that we do not get the space for higher resistivities to install that much of earthing. So we are having these space constants, that we are having only 10 by 10 meter of area. Now achieve the value in this only, and the resistivity is 4500 ohm meters or 2000 ohm meters. So that was a challenge, another challenge which we generally face. Yeah. So restricted area and unavailability of uneven space, these are the another thing. And of course, there was unavailability of proper tools too. Initially, all the calculations were done by the Excel sheets,
Yeah.
and there were the manual calculations. So
Yeah.
obviously, they
Yeah.
were having some restrictions for the manual calculations. Also, there was chances for uh, mistakes too, because human errors also. And so that this happens, due to which what happens, either we were over designing the system
Yes.
as per the actual requirement, or we were under designing the system, and
Okay.
at the time of installations we were not able to achieve the values.
Okay.
So for this, we IEEE 80 has created a software, that is a CDEGS software. So
Okay.
now
Okay.
we do all the designing with this software.
Okay.
Yeah, we can study the soil nature also. We can study that how many number of layers the soil is having at my site, and by
Okay.
using that number of layers in the actual designing, I can design my system it in any available space, in any unusual or arbitrary shaped. I can design my grid,
Okay.
because for underground things, it happens that I'm getting any foundation of column or pillar, so I need to skip that space, and I have to lay my earthing in the remaining space. So
Okay.
that which it was not possible with the AutoCAD designing or with the
Yes.
Excel
Yes.
sheet. I cannot consider those footings of columns in my
Yeah.
calculation with Excel sheets. But
Okay.
now with this software, I can do that, and I can validate the design also.
Okay.
So this is the advantage of using of moving to upon the software from the
Okay.
Excel sheet. Yeah,
Yes, Aisha, I have few questions. For example, you
yes,
told like under designing or over designing like that. So
sure.
for example,
Hmm.
if over designing means it's always better, right? I mean, can you just differentiate these two? Under designing means what problems will happen? For example, over designing
Okay,
means what problems will happen? Yeah. So can you detail that?
definitely.
Yeah.
Basically, suppose what happens if I am designing for a tunnel, suppose. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Now I am into the tendering stage for that tunnel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The initial designing is I'm doing it. Okay.
Okay.
So what happens now, the tender will be tender is in the process, and it will be floated.
Okay.
After that, it will be awarded to any contractor, and then he will work, he will install.
Okay.
This process is so long, it will take 2 to 3 years sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, minimum 1 to 1.5 year is nothing in the tendering and all, for
That's
big
true.
projects like
That's true.
tunnels, metros. Okay. So I have done the initial designing today, and that tender will be floated after 2 years.
Yeah.
In this 2 years, soil resistivity can vary, first of all.
Okay.
Okay. So, and if I have done the calculation using Excel sheet, I am not able to validate the design too.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not knowing that what is the nature of my soil at that location. I am just
Okay.
having the resistivity value, that because what happens when we do the soil resistivity testing, we got the
Mm-hmm.
number of resistivity values. But
Okay.
Excel sheets are having this disadvantage that we can put only one value
Yes,
in
yes, yes.
Excel sheet formula.
Yeah.
So either we take the average of all the resistivities, or we take the highest one. With
Okay.
highest resistivity value, we are over designing the system, which is
Okay.
unnecessarily increasing the project cost.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So it will, obviously it will cost to our government, and they will ultimately cost to us only, that the
Okay.
project
That's
has
true.
been
That's true. Yeah.
costly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I am taking the average value, it
Lower
will
value.
be yeah, underrated, maybe possible ki I have designed it, under
Mm-hmm.
designed the system, and after
Okay.
2 years, maybe for today's installation, it is sufficient to achieve the value.
Mm-hmm.
After 2 years, I am not able to achieve less than one in that design. I have
Okay.
to increase it. So then also the project budget for the project will be not that much, because
Okay.
the budget for every project has been fixed at the time of tendering only,
That's true.
for
That's
at
true.
the time of initial designing. So we have
Mm-hmm.
to keep all the factors in the mind, that the system should not that much over designed, that it can cost us more, and it should not be under designed also that it is not able to achieve the values. Obviously we take some considerations for the spare also, that if it is we are not able, if there was a drastic change in values of soil resistivity, so it will not change our calculation. So that consideration we take, but not that much that it may change the drastically the project cost.
Okay, very nice. I think yeah, we came across one more point also, space consideration. For example, if you have less space, how the considerations will be there. If more space is available, how the consideration will be there. Generally, in my mind, for example, earthing means maybe 1 feet by 1 feet, that much space. And if you are able to put any piping rod, GI pipe, or any structure like that, it may be sufficient. That's what I mean, say, for example, like in a normal people, if I think, so why you need more space? I mean, what is the necessity for that? Yeah,
I'll tell you. As I told earlier, that initially there was a misconception that we'll use 2 earthing pits or 4 earthing pits and it will be sufficient for achieving the value. But actually it is not so. The number of pits depends upon the resistivity of that location. So for every earthing, we need to check the soil resistivity of the location first. Okay. And after that, we do the calculations that suppose I am getting 100 ohm meters of resistivity at any location, or 70 ohm meters of resistivity at any location. So I'll check with 70 ohm meters of resistivity, if I'm going for the maintenance free earthing system, then in how many number of pits I'm able to achieve less than 1 ohms. So yeah, and now it can be 15 also, it can be 18 pits also. So I have to interconnect those 18 pits, and I have to check the earth resistance of that combination of earthing pits, that whether it is coming less than 1 ohm or not.
Okay. For example, if you don't have space there, only, for example, only 4 earth pit space only there, then is there any way to go for a better conductivity material and reduce the resistivity? I mean, what you people will do?
Yeah, generally it happens. We do not have a space, and the resistivity is that much that we are not able to achieve the value. So what happens, we asked from our end client only that what is the maximum space you can give us for installing the earthing system. You tell us your limitation, then we'll see how we can oversee that. So suppose that he has tell us that you are having 15 by 20 meters of area, or 20 by 20 meters of area. So that is freeze, that we cannot go beyond it. Now there are other there are other things which we can do, like we can do soil treatment, we can use maintenance
chemicals,
chemical compounds that are carbon based compounds, which helps us in lower down the resistivity value at some extent. They help us to lower down 30 to 40% of soil resistivity, of mother soil resistivity. So we can use that also. Another one is soil treatment. If the resistivity is so much, like 4500 ohm meters, as we are designing a system for RVNL tunnel or district gauge tunnel at 4500, so there are other options. We can increase the quantity of compound first. Otherwise we can use the satellite earthing also, like we have installed main earthing at the very location where the equipments are installed, and then of the same size earthing we install at a distance from that as a satellite earthing, and we connect it so that the area and the space increases, but the immediate space is not increased, and we are able to achieve the value. So there is a point of satellite earthing also.
There
are many things which we can do to achieve the value. That we should know what is the limitation from the opposite party, that we cannot go beyond. So after it is our work that how we can achieve the value in the
I have another basic question here itself. The soil, the water content, or the water availability, moisture content in the soil, generally it also influences a lot. So generally, once earthing and everything is installed, for example, after that we don't know how the conditions will be there under the maybe cement, concrete, or under the system. So how you people are ensuring? Is there any such guidelines from the standards or anything? Because if it is dry means it is of no use. It is insulator like that. For example, obviously, even though it is touching the metallic part, no use. So can you any maintenance required for that, for pouring water, or can you speak on that?
Sure. Basically, what happens initially, as maybe you should know, that for earthing, people were using salt and charcoal.
Yes, that's true.
The conventional types of earthing, right? Yeah. But now our latest standards are now recommending maintenance-free earthing. And they have prohibited the use of coke, grease, and salt and charcoal. The National Building Code has been revised in 2016 only. It has strictly recommended that we should not use salt and charcoal, as it increases the corrosion in our earthing system, and also it is not that it degrades the conductor too. The salt is conductive, but it degrades the material with which we are using. Right. So now the latest standards also are recommending to use maintenance-free earthing. What is maintenance-free earthing? That is chemical which we are using to lower down the resistivity. It helps us out in making the system maintenance-free also, because these are the carbon-based compounds. Carbon is having a property that it locks its moisture content. So once we installed it, it will remain as it is for as long as the earthing is there, and it will lock its moisture. It does not need to watering the pit on regular basis. It does not require any maintenance. And it will not need to extract moisture from the surrounding soil, as there are bentonite based compounds also in the market. Bentonite is having a disadvantage that it extracts the moisture from its surrounding soil. So at the very dry seasons, during very dry seasons like extreme summers or extreme winters, when soil it does not have that much of moisture content, it starts cracking up.
That's true.
And it gets detached from the earthing rod or because of which the earth resistance during the dry season
very high.
During dry seasons increases, and this is the very common problem which we face during extreme summers. That the earth resistance is we are not able to achieve earth resistance in the existing pits. So this happens because either we have done it with salt and charcoal, or if we have done the chemical earthing, so it is of bentonite based chemical. So it is very important that what material we are using at the time of installation of earthing system.
It's clear.
It will only maintain the earthing for a longer run. So now standards are also recommending to use maintenance-free system, and the latest technology is also maintenance-free earthing only for every application, be it for metros, be it for lightning system, be it for transformers, DG sets. For everything we can do maintenance-free earthing. Also, I want to clear out one point too here. There was a misconception that for transformers and DG sets, we should use plate earthing only, copper plate earthing, and the maintenance-free earthing should be used for lower equipments only, low size equipments only. But it is not so. We can install maintenance-free earthing with the solid rods and chemical compound for every application. It will work better, and it will provide you better results with for your equipment and for human safety too.
It is just a chemical composition along with the metal, right? The maintenance-free means.
Exactly. This is the this chemical compound only which is making the system maintenance free, which is protecting our earthing for a longer run, which is not corroding my earthing rod also, and it is not it is maintaining the system for a longer lifespan.
Generally these metals are normal iron, or it should be GI, or any tin coating, or generally what is the recommended practice for that?
See, the latest material or the earthing conductor which is used now in the market is copper bonded steel rods.
Okay.
Yes, basically these are solid rods. If I tell you from the initial stage, so firstly we were using plate earthings, but they require the larger area to install. We were using 300 by 300 by 3 mm of plates of copper. So they are costly also, and they require the larger pit size too. After that, we moved to pipe earthing, where we were using copper pipes and GI pipe earthing. They are also having their own disadvantages, as the using a hollow pipe decreases the life of earthing rod, of earthing system. So this is the thing. Now the latest thing which is recommended by the standards is use of solid rods, not in place of plate earthing or the hollow pipes. Because with solid rods, first of all, manufacturing defects has been eliminated from the earthing system. Secondly, if I am talking about the solid rods, so we can use material like MS, copper steel rods. The best material to use is obviously copper, but it should be costly.
Too much costly.
So to reduce the cost and to give the proper conductivity and the features of copper, this copper bonded steel material has been innovated. Basically, the core is of mild steel only, and it is having the minimum copper coating of 250 microns. The manufacturing standard is UL list, UL 467. As per that, the copper coating has been done on the MS rods. So what happens? We get the conductivity of copper. And we get the corrosion resistant properties of copper, and also we get the strength of steel. By combining the copper and steel, we reduce the cost too.
That's true. Otherwise, more costly with copper.
Exactly. Secondly, this copper coating has been done by molecularly bonded over steel. So no one can separate copper from steel. So it is having the zero scrap value. If someone thought that it is a copper, I will steal it. So it will be of zero value for him or her. Because no one can separate copper from steel, because both are having different melting temperatures. So both will require two furnaces of different temperatures. One can separate it. So, this is the advantage of this material, that it is a theft-free material and it is a cost-effective one.
So thefting cannot be done. No use, right?
It is the major issue in India, that with the pure copper, usually it steal out from the sides. This happens many times. So it is also not an issue with the copper bonded rods.
Good. Yeah, proceed here.
So here I was telling you about the latest technology and material only, which was recommended as per National Building Code, as per Indian Standard IS 3043, as per IC 62305, which is a lightning protection standard. So basically, all these standards are recommended to use maintenance-free earthing system with the permanent joints. Because joint axles plays a very important role when it comes to the earthing system. So they are recommended to use permanent jointing like exothermic welding in place of nut and bolting or arc welding. So we'll discuss one by one about all these things.
Yes.
Basically, if I'll tell you the drawbacks of conventional earthing, of pipe earthing, or plate earthing. So what means, on an average, steel corrodes 6 times as fast as copper when placed in soil. So when we are talking about GI material, so it is the zinc coating over the iron only. So it also corrodes very fast in the soil. That's why what happens after 4 years or 5 years, the earthing starts having issues, because pipe is start corroding and it damaged completely below the ground. And earthing is a thing that out of sight is out of mind. So no one thinks about it once it's installed, that it may have any issue. So this is the thing. Also, the corrosion rate of GI is very much higher as compared to copper. It is 2.2% per year. So
Okay.
it also decreases the life of our earthing conductor.
Okay.
Using it with salt and charcoal, be it plate earthing, also using it with salt and charcoal increases the corrosion in our earthing system.
Okay.
So now, as I have already tell you, the standards are now prohibiting the use of salt and charcoal from to be used for the earthing system.
Okay.
And also, there's the GI for the GI installations. National Building Code itself is saying that GI should be used for the temporary installations. For permanent installations, we should go for copper bonded steel, or steel material.
Okay.
GI shall not be used for the permanent installations when it comes to lightning protection system. So it
Okay.
is also a recommendation from the National Building Code.
Okay. So it should be copper rod only. I mean copper only for lightning.
Copper only, copper bonded steel we can use where we are having copper coating over steel.
Okay.
So there are much better materials than as compared to GI.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So the advantages of using maintenance free earthing is, first of all, the my earthing pit size has been decreased, as we are talking about the space constraints and all the things. So with solid rods, the earth pit size has been decreased. We do not require regular watering or frequent maintenance of my system. Once it is installed, it's installed. I just need to do proper check that the earth resistance is maintained. So that way I can do over a year also as a regular maintenance. But the pit does not require any regular maintenance. Okay. And also, maintenance free earthing is mechanically and electrically sound. They can sustain repeated fault currents with permanent point solution like exothermic welding. So these are the advantages with this latest technology. So this is recommended one. Even for the underground metros and the metro stations, all the authorities, whether it is DMRC and other metro authorities, all are going for this maintenance free system only.
Okay.
Yes. Basically, if I talk about the material of copper bonded rods, as I have already told you, they are having the core of mild steel, and the copper is molecularly bonded over the steel rods with the minimum copper coating of 250 microns.
Okay.
These rods can be customized for any fault current, whether from 25 kiloamperes to 65 kiloamperes. We can customize these rods and we can use it for our earthing system. Talking about the life of this material, so there is a study conducted by NFPA, that is National Electrical Grounding Research Project. What they have done, they have taken the 14 mm GI rod, solid rod, and they have taken the copper bonded steel rod of same size, and they buried them for 10 years. After 10 years, when they excavated those pits, they have found that GI rods are fully corroded. Whereas copper bonded rods, there was no clue of initial pitting over the copper bonded rods. So they have concluded that the copper bonded rods are having the life of plus 40 years as compared to GI solid rods.
Okay. Yeah. I should hear, for example, with respect to the fault current, 25 kiloamp, 50 or 65 kiloamp. What is the difference between all earthing rods? Is this only thickness of copper or thickness of
No. There will be difference in the diameter of the rod.
Yeah, that's it, right? Diameter.
Yeah. The minimum requirement of copper coating is 250 microns over all the copper bonded rods. The coating can be more than 250, but it should not be less than 250 microns. It's just that the diameter of the rod varies. Like for 25 kiloamperes, 17 mm rod is sufficient to carry 25 kiloamperes. For similarly, for higher fault currents, we are having higher diameter of rod. So diameter rod will vary as per the fault current requirement.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Also, if I talk about the hollow pipe earthing or plate earthing, so there are not much testing standards. So they are not the standardized
procedure.
equipment, yeah. But these are having the manufacturing standard also, which are bounded the manufacturer to manufacture these rods as per it. Also, they are having the testing standard also to check the quality of these rods.
Okay.
Like the first, if I'm talking about the mechanical properties, so first of all is the copper thickness. It should not be less than 50 microns. There are other tests also like adherence to coating test, in which we check that whether the from again and again beating the rod, the copper coating should not be peeled out.
Okay. Okay.
Another test is the bending test, that after bending the copper coating should not crack from
Yeah.
anywhere and it should not be removed from these steel rods. Then only it will be properly molecularly bonded over steel and it will serve the purpose of using this material.
That's true.
Tile strength test has been tested. And last one is the salt spray test to check the corrosion resistant property of these rods, so that we can bury them in any type of soil and it will not corrode from when we install it in the soil. So the corrosion resistant testing salt spray test has been done as per UL 467 IC 62561 part 2.
Okay.
Other than this, for the electrical test, there comes the fault current carrying capacity. So as per the size of the rod and as per the requirement of fault current, we do the CPRI testing of these rods.
Okay.
So this ensures the quality of the rod also and the life of the rod also, which we cannot rely over pipe earthing or plate earthing. With pipe earthing and plate earthing, only we can test is the fault current carrying capacity.
Okay.
For that, I just need to go to CPRI. If I'll go with any metallic conductor and I'll say that test it at so and so fault current, they will do that also because it is a lab. And it will do whatever we ask. So they will test obviously the pipe also and plate conductor also, because they are metallic, so they will carry the fault current. But the thing which plays an important role is the material which will be installed below the ground, because as long as that material exists below the ground, it will help me out in achieving the better earthing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, if my earthing conductor has been corroded after installation, so there will not be any conductor and it will not serve the purpose of protecting my equipment. So that's why choosing the correct material place is the very important thing when we are talking about the earthing system.
Okay.
Yes. Similarly, for the strips also, I have seen many incomplete connection on different sites whenever I have been anywhere. So I have found that people are using strips for the interconnection of equipment through the earthing. But after some time, because they have used the nut and bolting, as you can see in pictures, that's why I have used, because these are the real-time pictures I have taken for my reference. So after some time, nut and bolt gets loose and either they corrode after some time, or they get loosened up and they are not even available at this site. So due to this also failures happens, because if my equipment is not connected properly with the earthing system, so earthing will also not serve its purpose and equipment will also not be safe. So it is very important that we do regular checks, because they are installed at the public places.
That's true.
These things can happen, but being a maintenance in charge or being an authority, it is our duty that we do the regular checks at whether they are required any maintenance or something. So this is the thing. This is the compound which I was talking about, the chemical which is making the complete system maintenance free.
Okay.
Basically, as per Indian standards and as per National Building Code, the compound or chemical which we are using for our earthing system shall have the resistivity of less than 0.12 ohm meters. This value has been mentioned in the standards. That the compound or artificial treatment which we are using shall have the value of less than 0.12 ohm meters. And it should be tested as per IEC 62561 part 7.
Okay. Okay.
As I'll tell you that with salt and charcoal, we were having many limitations and disadvantages. Like, first
Yeah.
of all, salt and charcoal leaches out with time, so we require the regular maintenance. Also, it corrodes the earthing conductor,
Yeah.
and so these are the common problems which we generally face with salt and charcoal. To overcome these challenges, there are 4 or 5 types of tests which we generally perform over this chemical.
Okay.
The first one is the corrosion test to
Mm-hmm.
check that it should not corrode my earthing rod.
Yeah.
That after that only it will be able to serve the longer lifespan of earthing. The
Yeah.
second test is the leaching test, that it will not leach out with time as salt and charcoal leaches out with time.
Mm-hmm.
We check the sulfur content in the compound because
Okay.
it is going to installed in the soil, so it should be eco-friendly to
Yeah.
nature.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it should not pollute my soil or my ground. So
Yeah.
this sulfur content test is done, and the another one is the resistivity test. As per standards, the resistivity should be less than 0.12 ohm meters.
Yeah.
Then only then only it will serve the purpose of lowering down the resistivity for higher resistivity areas. So these
Okay.
are the 4 tests which we generally perform as per the standard, and after that the compound or this chemical comes into play for the installations.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, there is a very small test which anyone can perform to check
Mm-hmm.
the quality of this chemical.
Okay.
If the chemical is conductive in the dry form without adding any water,
Mm-hmm.
that means that it is a purest form of carbon compound,
Okay.
and it will provide you the maintenance free system for the longer run. Because
Okay.
after adding water is a good conductor of electricity.
Yeah.
So after adding water, everything will be conductive.
That's true.
Even
That's true.
spring is also be a conductive if we are wet. So
Yeah.
if the compound is conductive in the dry form, which can be tested by using a continuity tester, as I have shown in this image.
Yes. Yes.
Just need to put both the probes of the
Yeah.
continuity tester in the compound
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the dry form of powder, and if it is conductive, the LED light will
Then it
blink.
is good.
Yeah, and it will serve the purpose of quality check, that it can provide me the
Okay.
maintenance free system for a longer run.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Now coming towards the jointing system, as I have
Mm-hmm.
already told you that nut and bolt gets loosen up with time, they get
Yeah.
corrode. With the arc welding also there are many disadvantages. Like
Mm-hmm.
we do not have the 100% surface area because we overlap the
That's true.
conductors.
That's true.
Yeah, yeah. So due to which what happens, corrosion starts acting over the arc welding also. Because
Okay.
while we overlap the conductors, 100% surface area was not there. So due to the air gaps, oxidation occurs and corrosion starts acting upon the joints.
Yes.
That's why the standards are now recommending the exothermic welding.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it is a permanent jointing solution, and it is
Okay.
recommended for the underground earthing connections
Okay.
mainly. Yeah. The
Mm-hmm.
advantage of these joints is that they provide us 100% surface area.
Okay.
All the cross section of the joint itself is much larger than the cross section of the conductor, so the life of joint is also good.
Okay.
The joints are head-to-head joints. There is no overlapping between the conductors, so this is
Mm-hmm.
another advantage. So that's why the standard, also it is a permanent solution, it will not corrode, so
Okay.
will not fail after the time too. So now the standards are recommending to use the permanent welding solutions in place of nut and bolting or arc welding.
Okay. Here the picture shows railway track. That is exothermic welding.
Yeah,
Okay.
basically in railways, exothermic welding is the only thing we are doing.
Okay.
And this is a joint which railways are doing with the
Okay.
rail track.
Okay.
So all such types of joints are exothermic welding. Another
Okay.
advantage of exothermic is that also that we can make any bimetallic joint
Mm-hmm.
with
Mm-hmm.
this. So
Okay.
the the problem of galvanic coupling between two metallic conductors will also solve if we are using exothermic welding. Any type of joint, whether it is pipe to rod, strip to rod, or strip to strip, strip to stranded conductor, any kind of joint can be made by exothermic welding.
Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So this was all about the earthing system. These are some of the pictures for earthing grids, which we installed for metros or for underground structural high-rise buildings. So in this way, we lay the earthing grid and we do the exothermic welding at every corner and every joint. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Coming towards the lightning protection system, so it also plays a very important role, as I have already told you.
Yeah.
So in this also, the validation is very important, because we are doing the designing, but we cannot say that at these points only the lightning will hit.
That's true.
Yeah, or at the points where I am putting the air terminals in my design, I should validate that if I have installed, if I have shown that you have to install the terminal at this point, it is protecting your building.
Yeah.
That is possible by this software, which I have discussed earlier also. We can do the 3D simulation of our building.
Okay.
And we can check that at the points where I am installing my air terminals, are they protecting my building completely or not?
Okay.
There are basically three methods of LPS designing: rolling sphere method, protection angle method, and the mesh method.
Okay.
So all these three methods are there in this software as per the applicable standard. So we can do the validation of our design in this way. We give the reports that if I have given 5 LA or 10 LA and my system is unprotected, so it will show that only this much part which is green is protected and all the red part is unprotected. Now I need to do more designing or need to give more number of air terminals or conductor there to protect my complete structure. So in this way, I can simulate my buildings and applications or structures while I am designing the lightning protection system.
Okay. I mean, the bridges also to be protected for these lightnings?
Everything, be it foot-over bridge, be it flyovers, bridges, temples, mosques, everything need to be protected from lightning strike.
If it is normal road means we don't do.
For normal roads, we are having the street light poles. So we generally use them as for the lightning protection system, or we install those install air terminals over them. Even the traffic lights and the CCTV poles which we are having nowadays on the highways and flyovers, they are also protected with the lightning protection system. So, yeah, so the authorities and the departments are that much concerned that everything should be protected with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So everywhere this lightning protection is there, by knowingly or unknowingly.
Yes. Being a common man or being a common public, we generally do not know these things, but because we are already working in this field, so we know that everything is protected with the lightning protection, and we are there to protect all the things.
Yeah. Yeah, proceed.
So basically, for lightning protection system, which plays an important role, is the lightning risk assessment. First of all, we have to do the risk assessment calculation that whether my structure needs to be protected from lightning protection system, or it is already protected and we do not need to install any further equipment or any further system to protect it from lightning. After that, if it requires the lightning protection, then the concern is at what level of protection I need to protect my structure. There are total 4 levels of protection: level 1, 2, 3, and 4. In which level 1 is the highest prone to lightning, and level 4 is least prone to lightning. Yeah. So as per risk assessment calculation, the requirement of lightning protection and the level of protection are being decided. After that, we proceed to the designing of the system.
I mean, whether it is level 1 or level 2 or level, how we can decide it based on history, or how we can do that for a particular area?
Risk assessment, there is a standard for risk assessment calculations.
Okay.
And as per that, they are having multiple values. So when we do the calculations at different level, the values are different. So first of
Okay.
all, we check at level 4 because it is the least prone to lightning level.
Okay.
So first of all, we check at level 4. If my building comes protected at level 4, then we'll select the level 4 and we do designing at
Okay.
level 4.
Okay.
If it is not coming protected, then we'll proceed to level 3 and accordingly level 2 and level 1. So in this way, we decide the level of protection. Also, there is a chart given in National Building.
Okay.
They have categorized some of structures in the different levels, like computer centers, military applications, high-rise hotels,
Okay.
level 1. Low-rise hospitals, hotels, X zones, and industries, chemical sector in level 2.
Okay.
Schools, banks, residential buildings in level 3 and 4.
Okay. Okay.
They have categorized them, but still they have given a note that the detailed risk assessment should be done before execution. So we can take the reference that if
Yes.
I am
Yes.
having a residential building, so I can go for level 3 and 4, but still the risk assessment report is important for that to proceed before proceeding level 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
risk assessment plays a very important role in this.
Okay. Okay.
Risk assessment basically based on the 4 types of losses: loss of human life, loss of
Okay.
services to the public, loss of cultural heritage, and the economic loss.
Okay.
These 4 losses are being there for which can happen if a lightning strikes on any structure. So at these 4 losses, risk assessment calculation is being done. For these 4 losses, tolerable values are given.
Yes.
If my
Yes.
calculated values comes below the tolerable values, that means I do not need any risk assessment. But
Okay.
if the calculated values are higher than the tolerable risk, then I need to protect my system by installing the lightning protection system.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So the prevailing standard for lightning protection system is IEC 62305.
Okay.
Initially, it was IS 2309. But now IS 2309 has been superseded by IEC 62305, and our Indian standards are also adopt the very same
IEC.
standard.
That's
Yeah.
true.
So it is now IEC 62305, which is the globally accepted standard.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So it is telling us that how we can do the risk assessment calculation, and after that, how we will install the lightning protection system at different levels to protect our building.
Okay.
It is telling us that there are 3 methods of designing, and there are 2 types of installations for which we can go. Like we can go for the structural installation, where we will use columns of our building as a natural down conductor. And we just need to install the air terminals over the roof.
Yeah.
We'll connect them with the columns rebar, and then we will do the earthing at the ground level or below the structure with their raft foundation.
Okay.
And we can protect our building, or we can install it externally also.
Okay.
That the down will come through the wall and it will connect to the earthing system.
Okay. Okay.
Both ways we can do the installations.
Mm-hmm.
As I have told you earlier, there are 3 methods of designing: rolling square method, MASH method, and protection angle method.
Okay.
So basically, the protection angle method is being used for for the buildings that are less than 60 meters of height at level 4.
Okay.
Yeah. For level 3, the maximum we can go with protection angle is 45 meters building only. For level 2, it is 30 meters, and for level 1, it is 20 meters.
Okay.
If I am designing any building at level 1 and its height is 25 meters, then
Not
I
allowed.
cannot design
Yes,
that
sir.
building at protection angle method.
Okay.
I have to go with the rolling sphere method.
Okay.
There is a difference that how we select that at what method we do our designing.
Mm-hmm.
So generally for these smooth roofs where the man movement was not there, we use the mesh method.
Okay.
Otherwise, we go for protection angle or majorly rolling sphere method.
Okay. Okay.
These types of air terminals have been installed over the roof
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
the protection of lightning strikes.
Okay.
The material which is generally used is aluminium because it is light in weight, it is
Yeah.
easy to install, it is cost effective also.
Okay.
For exposed installations, which we open to the atmosphere, we go for the aluminium first.
Okay.
If there is a chemically corrosive environment, then we change the material to copper bonded steel or
Okay.
pure copper.
Okay.
Otherwise, we'll go for the aluminium only. For
Yeah.
the buried conductors, like if I am using columns or if for earthing, we go for copper bonded steel only because
Okay.
aluminium we cannot use for the
No.
underground applications.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, in
So,
mesh method, how it is different? I mean, how we will do mesh means. Can you explain that one?
yeah,
Rolling.
as you can see, yeah, I'll explain you.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
you can see in this image, a mesh is installed over the roof. The
Okay.
mesh size is given, like
Okay.
for level 1 it is 5 by 5 meters, for
Okay.
level 2 it is 10 by 10 meters, for level 3 it is 15 by 15 meters, and for level 4 it is 20 by 20 meters. So if
Okay.
I am
Okay.
designing my building at level 4, so I'll make a complete mesh over the roof of 20 by 20 meter,
Okay.
and I will connect it with the down conductors
Okay.
coming to from the roof to the ground, and then it will happen. So it is a complete mesh which will be installed over the roof.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that rolling sphere method means how it is different.
What happens in rolling sphere method? It is a typical method basically.
Okay.
What happens? An imaginary sphere rolls down to the building. It is imagined that a sphere of 20 meter, 30 meter as per the level
Okay.
of this.
Okay.
Yeah, the imaginary sphere's radius is given. That
Okay.
for level
Okay.
1 it is 20 meters, for level 2 it is 30 meters, for level 3 it is 45 meters, for
Yeah.
level 4 it is 60 meters. So if the building has been designed at level 4, so that means a imaginary sphere of 60-meter radius will roll down through my building in all the directions.
Okay.
And
Okay.
the points where this imaginary sphere will touch my building, those points will be more vulnerable to the
Okay.
lightning strikes.
Okay. Okay.
So
Okay.
I have to install the air terminals at those points. I
Okay.
have to put the air terminals in such a manner that this imaginary sphere's radius of 60-meter sphere, it will be fitted between my air terminals, and it should not touch my building or my roof.
Okay.
Yeah. So in that manner, we do the designing through rolling sphere.
Okay. Okay. It's clear, dear. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is typical because we cannot do this at 2D softwares like AutoCAD.
We need
Because
3D.
this imaginary sphere is rolling down diagonally also, horizontally also, width-wise also, length-wise also. So I have to check through all the directions of my build.
That's
So
true.
we do this designing through our 3D software or through the CDHS software only.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Yeah, proceed here. Can I change the slide?
Yeah, actually, it's not. So these types of air terminals we generally use. These are known as self-supporting air terminals.
Okay.
So when we are having the equipments that are installed over the roof also, like cooling towers, chillers. So and we cannot install the air terminal directly on those equipments.
Okay.
So at that time we use these self-supporting air terminals. These should be installed at a side of the equipment, and it will protect the lightning strikes from hitting over the equipment or to any other structure of my roof.
Got it. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, these holders and connectors are being used at every 1 meter If I am laying the down conductor also through the wall, so
Okay,
at
okay.
every 1 meter I need to put a holder or connector to hold the conductor over the
Okay.
roof.
Yeah,
Should
yeah.
not be in direct contact with my structure.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
there is a misconception earlier that put the 4 air terminals at 4 corners of the building, and then take 4 down conductors from the 4 corners and ground them, earth them, and the lighting protection system is being done.
Okay.
But now, after coming IEC 62305 enroll, the lighting protection designing has been standardized.
Okay.
The risk calculations are very important now. Also, everything is very standardized. Like if I am using the MASH method, so the
Okay.
MASH size should be so and so, which is given in the standards.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, the down conductors, laying of down conductors, minimum distance between the 2 down conductors is freezed by the standard. That if designing it at level 1, so
Okay.
the minimum distance should be 10 meters. For level 2 also it should be 10 meters. For level
Okay.
3 and similarly it should be 15 meters and 20 meters.
Okay.
Standard is given that plus minus 20% tolerance we can take as per the site conditions, but
Okay.
the minimum distance should be followed as per the standard.
Okay.
And it is also like suppose I'm having a hotel and it is having a glass structure, and I'm not able to take the down conductors from the front side. So I can take those down conductors as a compensating down conductors from the other side of the
Okay. Okay.
structure. But
Oh,
it is not like if I am not able to take the down conductors from one side, so I'll skip those down conductors. It
we
should
should
not
take
be
it.
like
We
that.
should take it on
We
at least on
should take
another
it,
side.
yeah, we should take it into consideration, and we should give in compensating down conductors for that side to another sides of the structure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So the designing has been standardized a lot after the standards.
Yeah,
has been-
IEC is more superior. Yeah.
Yeah, basically it is an international standard, so it
Yeah.
is take in the consideration all the challenges and problems from all over the world.
That's true.
So,
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
basically, these are the different
Yeah, proceed.
these are the different fixing arrangements which
Okay.
we use for the installation of our air terminal and down conductors, the connectors, holders,
Okay.
expansion pieces. Basically, this which I have shown in this red circle is expansion piece,
Okay.
which we need to use for the exposed installations. So
Okay.
because
Okay.
we are using metal, so whenever the environment will change, the metal will contract and expand.
Okay.
So
Okay.
to compensate those things, we need to give expansion pieces at every 20 meters, so that if there will be any contraction or expansion,
Okay.
my
Okay.
installation will not hamper, and
That's
my
true.
system will be protected for the longer run. So
Yeah,
these
yeah.
are the different fixing arrangements that
Yeah.
we use for the installations, and these all should be tested as per IEC 62561 series.
Okay. Okay.
Now, there is generally a question which people generally ask from me, that whether we can combine the earthing for lightning protection system for power and telecom or not. So I want to give this reference that as per IS 732, as per IEC 62305, and as per National Building Code, we can have a common earthing for lightning, power, and telecom.
Okay.
If we are, yeah, if I am designing the earthing properly, with
Okay.
the proper
Okay.
SAP, potential touch, potential ground, potential rise satisfied for less
Yeah.
than 1 ohm.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
can combine the earthing.
Okay.
If
Okay.
I have installed the pits only for lightning protection system, like I have taken 10 down conductors from the roof, I have given 10 earth pits dedicatedly to those down conductors and interconnect them.
Okay.
So at that time, I cannot combine it with my electrical equipment, because that earthing was dedicatedly for lightning protection system for less than 10 ohms. But
Okay.
for the applications where I'm making a common grid, a complete earthing grid, so at that time I can combine lightning earthing with power and telecom. Hello. Hello.
Yeah. Yes, it's got disconnected.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Now I just again shared it. Sorry for that. Yeah.
No issue.
Yeah. Proceed. So if we are following all the processes, then we can still connect both telecom and this power related grid. Yeah.
Yes. If
Okay.
I have designed the complete earthing grid, then I can connect. But if I have given the dedicated thing for the lightning protection system only,
Okay.
then I cannot combine it with my electrical equipment.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Yes.
Yeah. Generally, these telecom, I think lightning protection more sensitive, right? In compared to normal.
And lightning current travels with the waveform of 10 by 350 microseconds basically.
Okay.
So and we designed our thing for electrical and electronics for 1 second or 3 seconds, so which is much more severe than 10 by 350 microseconds. So when I am designing a complete grid by considering 1 second timing of fault current and the ground potential rise, step potential, touch potential, I have to done all calculations for the grid. At that time, I can connect lightning protection system also with the same grid.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Got it. Proceed here.
Please change the slide.
Yeah. I will. Yeah. Is it okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
okay.
These are some of the installation images. As you can see, this is the picture from the airport building. Because generally the airports are having sheds.
Yeah.
So that we lay the conductor, we go for the mesh method plus protection angle, the combination of mesh and protection angle. So at every 1 meter, we give the holders. This is the parapet conductor and the holders, because we need to lay the conductor at the complete parapet wall. Then we need to interconnect it with the air terminal.
Okay.
So
okay.
at that also at every 1 meter, I need to connect the holders and the connectors. In this way, we connect the
generally on from buildings, we don't need to insulate it, right? We can directly touch the building, right?
We do the bare conductors. Basically, the conductors we are using is bare conductor, but these holders in plastic base.
Okay.
And then they are having access holder above that. So the basic idea is that our conductor should not be in direct touch with our building.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also we need to give our support for the horizontal conductor at every 1 meter.
That's true. Okay.
Yeah. For solar panels also, we are having these L-shaped air terminals or angled air terminals.
Okay.
Because with solar panels, the limitation is that we cannot use much longer air terminal, because then the shadow problem will
yes, that's true. Shadow will fall on it. Yeah.
So these are the angled air.
But if it is a less height, means the protection will be less, right? Generally.
Protection will be less. As per National Building Code, the maximum height we can go above panel is 0.5 meters only.
Okay. Okay.
So these air terminals are in L shaped, and they are only 0.5 meters above the air terminals.
Okay.
So as you can see in this picture, there are a number of air terminals installed at every row. So this happens as per IEC 62305 and National Building Code. We have to design the system.
Okay.
So in this manner, we do this.
Yes. Yeah.
So
very nice.
About the
yeah, it's wonderful session. Wonderful session, Ayushi. Very nice. Yeah, I think it is very lengthy, but audience feel very informative. We covered all the latest trends. Yes.
Yeah,
many things.
Hope so. And
yeah, this is a single point resource material for this lightning, and I think for the
basically the main aim was that the awareness should be there between the people, and between all other people also that are involved with all these applications, that how much these things are important to us.
That's true. That's true. Wonderful session. Myself felt very useful. I also learned so many things today. It's a very informative. Yeah, Aishi. This is not the end, Aishi. I can say this is just a start for our combination. We are going to do many more miracles in the future, many more good interviews.
So. I hope so. Hopefully, we hope for the best.
Yes. Yeah, sure. And one more session. I'm planning like jobs in electrical sector or core side. So those topic also we can both together discuss and do a session on it. Yeah, because being a mature person in this sector, you know more things also, so we can share those also to our fellow persons.
I will be glad to help our young generation too, and I want that people should not move or people should not change their field. But if they have chosen, if they have given their time studying a field, then they should not move towards any other field, and they should stick to it, and they should use their knowledge and move in the same direction. So I will be glad to help our young generation too.
I like your intention. I found like-minded people like me.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Very nice, Aishi. Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot for being here. Thank you so bye. Much. We will meet in next video, dear. Yeah.
Bye. Okay, sure. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, friends. Thank you. Thanks for watching. So this is about this web interview, guys. I hope you find the information very useful. So if you have any questions or comments or anything, then do comment in comment section. Author details also available in the description. You can directly connect with the author also. Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you. Thanks for watching. We will meet in next video. Bye.